This is the TJ Hoisington Podcast. Unleash your greatness within.
The whole world going to be interconnected, similar to what we know today's Internet of Things. We're going to have Internet of Bodies, so we're all going to be full of sensors. I'm full of sensors today, so I have my Oura Ring, I have my Whoop, Apple Watch, my glucose monitor here, right. And I'm going to have more. But if we're taking a good care of cars, with a lot of sensors, our body is much more important than my car. I should use the same approach, and it's a lot of things that we can do today. But 25 years from now, human avatars, Internet of Bodies, human brain AI integration, and a lot of nanobots in our blood which can fight with cancer cells. And this is what we cannot do today. All of these technologies are at early stage of development today on Earth.
Welcome to the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast. In today's success interview, it was my privilege to interview Sergey Young.
You already know. My passion and my mission to help you unleash your greatness within. My heart goes out to the underdogs that's on their way. If you think you can go from good to great, okay, let's motivate. GreatnessWithin.com. TJ Hoisington. GreatnessWithin.com.
You see, Sergey, what an amazing story. And he's going to share some of his story in this interview. But for the past 20 years, he's been an investor. And then through some circumstances in his life, he got focused on the idea of extending people's lifespans. In fact, he really believes that in time, that we are at the front door of some amazing breakthroughs that will enable human beings to live over 200 years. Does that sound amazing? You're probably thinking, well, I don't want to live over 200 years. Can you live over 200 years and still live happy and healthy? Yeah, it's called age regression. There's some technology. Anyway, I don't even want to get into it right now. You see, Sergey has written this new book titled The Science and Technology of Growing Young, and he did a great job with this book, and I felt like it was really balanced. And as you see in this interview, he's very optimistic, but he's also very strategic, and he'll get into some of those things that we can do right now to extend not only our life, but also extend the quality of life that we have starting today. Now, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, then hey, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure you click that notification bell whenever I come out with a new success interview like this or a motivational message. You'll be the first to hear about it. And if you're listening to this because you downloaded it from Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio, hey, listen, thanks for being a part of my community. And if you're not, hey, subscribe, join my community. I'd really appreciate it. Now, without any further ado, it was awesome to interview Sergey. So let's jump right into it.
Sergey, welcome to the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast.
Hi, TJ. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
It's so exciting to have you on the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast. When my staff brought your name and some of your background to me and I did a little review, I thought, wow, this subject related to unleashing your greatness within is spot on. And just to let everyone know, he's the author of this new book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young. Wow. What? And I tell you, I've read the book, Sergey. I tell you what, I think just in the outset, let me just say, you got my attention right away in the beginning. It caused me to be curious all the way through. And then you balance the approach at the end with some kind of life skills and with some thoughts around morality and so forth. And I think you really bring a really good balance. And although some of the stuff I was unfamiliar with, which you're going to help us understand today, in terms of some of the technology and some of the things that are going on, just blew my mind. So let's just jump right into it. So for starters, as a guest on the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast, would you share with us a little bit of your background?
Perfect. So I'm 49. This is, if you look at my passport, I'm 49. If you look at my biological clocks, these things exist these days. I'm 43 and I want to be younger every year. And, I'm an investor. for last 20 years. And I'm from very poor family. And some people say they from the middle of nowhere. I'm from the end of nowhere. My hometown in Russia, it was Soviet Union by this time, was closer to Japan across the sea rather than to regional capital. It was like 200 miles across the sea to Japan, 500 miles to regional capital. This is how far away I was born.
Yeah.
And for some people, becoming an adult is a process. For me, it was just one phone call. When at the age of 18, my mom called me up and said, Sergey, we lost our jobs. It was perestroika, Gorbachev time. And I was the one making the money for my whole family, for my younger brother. And actually, at this time, it was possible to study full time and to work full time.
Yeah, right.
And that was it. 20 years later, I was managing multi-billion-dollar private equity portfolio with assets all over the world. And that's the unfortunate reality for all of us. Our path to health and longevity, our interest of how our body works and how to sustain this starts with a wake-up call. I had two. One is the lung cancer of my father back in 2005. He survived, but the quality of his life has never recovered. And then my own story, I had high cholesterol level identified in my blood. It was back in 2014. And I was just rejecting the idea that I need to be on medication till the rest of my life. It's not major. Like 40% of people suffer exactly from this problem. But I thought I should discover how human biology works. And we humans, we're very binary. So it's either like 1 or 0. And I thought it's just one single answer, like to aging, to our health. It's not. So, this is one of the takeaways from the book, that if we want to influence, if we want to take back control of our health and responsibility for that, it's just a number of things that we need to do today, in 10 years from now, in 25 years from now. This is where Horizons of Longevity theme came from. And then, so I started to change human lives, and I sent so many people to do their annual checkup, and some of them had early stage cancer, and they fully recovered because it was the importance of early diagnostic of cancer is the other highlight of the book. We're going to talk about this today. So they called me up and said, Sergey, you saved my life. And when you hear this word, these words, you think, oh my goodness, this is why I was born to be here. And so I find the sense of purpose. I wanted to support the development of the space, which is health, digital health, longevity technologies. So I set up this small investment fund, because $100 million is, in financial industry terms, is like extremely small investment fund. But of course, for us, for humans, it's a lot of money, and it's made quite a lot of change in the space as well. Funny fact, initially I thought it's going to be $50 million fund, but then I raised my $50 million from my investors in the first 5 minutes, and I'm insecure overachiever. So whatever I get something in 5 minutes, I couldn't really appreciate that. So I immediately raised the bar to 100 million, and this is what I got. So, and again, it was such an amazing journey. We're looking at 200 longevity technology companies a year. It's just an amazing information flow that not all of us, or very few of us, have access to. And my mission is to bring accessible and affordable version of healthcare to the world. I thought I need to share it with the world in form of book, and this is why we're here.
I can feel your passion. I could feel your passion when reading the book. I mean, you really did, midway through life currently, right? Based on current numbers, really find your passion, find your purpose. And I love the fact that later in the book, you talk about Viktor Frankl and just that search for meaning. And here you've been an investor, and then you moved over to the longevity revolution. Can it be called that? Is that right? Yeah. So it's just unbelievable story. And what I also love to hear, because I don't think we hear it enough, is that you started out in a remote part of the world, very poor, and through hard work and passion and education and skill development and so forth, you've been able to achieve something really powerful. And I think this is a start to even more powerful things that you will do in your lifetime. Okay, so here's the reality. One thing that caught my eye, and which is probably going to catch everybody's eye who's watching this or listening to this podcast, is it really possible that we can live to 200 years old? So here's what I did. I want to just read the first paragraph of chapter 1 because it grabbed me. And listen, after I read this first paragraph, there's several more pages of similar thought that we won't read, that you'll have to go read the book to see. But this is how you started off, and I just thought it was way cool. Picture yourself on the occasion of your 200th birthday. You awake up in your hermetically, how do you say that?
Hermetically, yeah.
Yeah. Sealed, temperature and oxygen optimized bedroom. You have slept the precise amount of time your body requires. While you sleep, nanorobots in your bloodstream identify injuries, made repairs, and delivered nutrients, vitamins, and medicines via microchips embedded throughout your body. A series of internal and external diagnostic devices ran a complete scan compared to the data of that of the entire global population and made micro adjustments to your daily molecular feed accordingly. All of your damaged tissues and cells were repaired so that you wake up exactly as healthy as you were 150 years ago. Okay, tell us the story. Tell us what's possible here.
Okay. TJ, so first of all, I need to say this is like living to 200 today is completely irresponsible promise. Okay. We don't have a technology yet, and at least we'll not have one till the next 20 or 25 years of development to reach this stage. So we actually have our time to prepare. And preparing not in terms of the science, not in terms of technology. In 20 years' time, they're not going to be the obstacle to us living to 200. The biggest thing is ethics, regulation. Are we ready? Are we embracing the life that we're trying to extend? So that's the main topic. So that's why I created this different horizons of longevity, and they are helpful in terms of having our wake-up call, like what we can do and we should do now, what we should expect in 10, 20 years from now, and 25 to 50 years from now. So let's go through them.
Yes.
One, it is possible today, in combination of use of technology and current science and lifestyle changes, which are extremely important, to live to healthy and happy 100 years. So this is the reality. And we all need to be prepared to the fact that we're going to live longer or radically longer than we expect. So that's like one of the main takeaways of the book. So then, why is that important to make changes today or tomorrow morning and not to wait for another 10 to 20 years? You need to stay on longevity bridge. So when in 10, 20 years from now, we can enjoy massively the benefits of gene editing, gene therapy, organ regeneration, longevity in appeal. Our body should be worth extending its resource. So that's why we just need to be capable to hold it and be as healthy as possible right now and in 10, 20 years from now. So that's now. This is actually the end of the book. This is what I call a bonus chapter. Who wants to live forever? And for the good reason, bonus chapter is twice as long as any other chapter in the book. There's so many things that we can do today. Let's come back to this.
Yeah, we'll come back to this because you lay out 10 things specifically.
Yeah, it's called 10 longevity choices.
Yeah, right.
People ask me, like, every time I talk about technology of the future, people just listen to me and like, well, Sergey, like, what we can do today? What do you know that we don't know? Yeah. And the good news, we know like 70% of the answers. But we just need to be disciplined in executing on that. That's right. So then the main part of the book is near horizon of longevity. These are technologies and breakthroughs in science that we're currently supporting through our investments in Longevity Vision Fund. And we're not the only one. There's so many people investing in digital healthcare and longevity technologies today. In 10, 20 years' time, all of these technologies are going to be available to us on a massive scale. And when people ask me, like, what are the most promising ones? I'm talking about gene editing and gene therapy. If you have an interest in time, we can cover that later today. It's organ regeneration and our ability to replace organs inside our body or regrow organs. Again, this is happening today in the labs. And our aim is to make it affordable, accessible for everyone, to help so many people with sometimes extremely difficult diseases. And the third thing is what I call longevity in the pill, new class of drugs, which is currently under development, which are gonna address the aging at its core. Because a lot of diseases, which I call killer monsters, so like with 90% probability, if we are above 50, we're gonna die from 1 out of 4 diseases like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and neurodegenerative diseases. So that's like 90% of the deaths after age of 50. So we're gonna, in 5, 10, 15 years from now, within the near horizon of longevity, we're gonna have access to this new class of drugs. And some of them already exist today. We just need to test them on humans. And some of them going to be developed with the use of artificial intelligence. So this is helpful as well. So that's, well, so, and if today we're going to live, and we can live to 100 healthy and happy years, this near horizon of longevity will give us an opportunity to extend our lifespan well beyond the maximum lifespan that we have today on Earth. So the maximum lifespan, thanks to this beautiful French woman who died 20 years ago, is 122 years.
That's the,
and if you look at the maximum,
right? Okay.
Yeah, that's the maximum that we've seen for the record. And if you look, well, even in the last 100 or 200 years, this was the maximum lifespan all the time through the history of humanity. You always find someone who lived beyond 100 and very few live to 120, and that's it.
Okay.
So while our lifespan, average lifespan for developed world increased by 2 times from 35-40 to 75-80 in the course of last 100 years. So there was the massive gain in the average lifespan, but the maximum lifespan was always there. So we always been fighting with early death, but we never managed to break this sound barrier of 122 years and live longer than that. Right. So near horizon of longevity technologies that I just mentioned will give us an opportunity to live longer or substantially longer beyond this 122 years. But to be a responsible man in our conversation, look, I'm 49. Before you guys will be able to check if I can live beyond 122 years, it's going to be 73 years from now. So I don't want to cheat you. In a way, it's a huge aspiration. Am I sure we're going to break this barrier? 100%. But do I have like scientific evidence? We need to do a testing, and the testing will take more decades. So that's like, as a framework, it's very useful. It's here now. And we need to make a lot of important takeaways for our life and the life of our loved ones because of that. And then finally, we will enter the far horizon of longevity. And this is going to be available to us in 25, 50 years from now. And these are the things like human avatars. These are the things like human brain AI integration, similar to what is done today by Elon Musk.
Right.
He's done it with pigs in an invasive way, but is going to, and a lot of people will start the human trials very soon. The whole world going to be interconnected, similar to what we know today's Internet of Things. We're going to have Internet of Bodies. So we're all going to be full of sensors. I'm full of sensors today. So I have my Oura Ring, I have my Whoop, Apple Watch, my glucose monitor here, right. And I'm going to have more. But I mean, if we're taking a good care of cars with a lot of sensors, you know, our body is much more important than my car. I should use the same approach, and we can, it's a lot of things that we can do today. But 25 years from now, human avatars, Internet of Bodies, human brain AI integration, and a lot of nanobots in our blood, which can fight with cancer cells. And this is what we cannot do today. All of these technologies are at early stage of development today on Earth. And final word on that is, as you mentioned correctly, there's a whole, it's actually a final chapter in the book called Morality of Immortality. And it is basically about ethics of life extension. We've managed to create the science and technology to extend our life, but we haven't created life that we want to extend. Like 60 to 80% of people say no to life extension opportunity, even if they offer it. So we just need to work more with this world, for this world to be worth living.
Oh, no, that's really great. Thank you for that overview right there. I mean, the whole center part of the book is all about some of this breakthrough technology that is so deep. And the way you write it, you keep it simple. I feel like you take it to, like me, an average person, to understand something, because I don't have a medical background or anything like that, but you make it very understandable through your examples, through your stories, breaking it down, simplifying it. I love the way that you wrote the book. Okay, so you're 49 years old. I'm 47 years old. Are you saying, this is a selfish question, but are you saying that with the technology in the near decade, maybe 2 decades, that the technology being available, that the likelihood of me knowing today with those, as long as I maintain a reasonably healthy life, that I have a high probability of living to 100 years old?
Yeah, I think it's extremely high.
Extremely high. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, but then, look, we humans like to have like a full certainty. Like someone will come and tell you, yeah, TJ, you're going to live 122, be careful in the age of 117, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you think about our lifespan and our ability to extend our life, it's not going to be one single day. Then you'll make a decision, or someone will make a decision how many years you will live. Yes. You're going to be doing, our life going to be like a series of life extension choices. And this is what our life today. It's up to you not to do tobacco smoking, or you do tobacco smoking, right? It's up to you whether you following the healthy diet or not, whether you decreasing the calories of your food of your daily food that you intake. And this is just plus 3, 5, 7 years, right? If you're using the seat belts, this is like plus 2 years to your life. If you ride in motorcycle, your chances to go into severe accidents like 17 times high if you're riding, if you drive in the car. If you go into driverless car, your mortality rate is going to be 10 times lower in terms of the risk of car accidents. The life is full of choices, and I want all of us to be educated about these choices today, in the future, in 25, in 50 years from now.
Okay, no, that's really good. What do you say to the people, this is just burning in my mind right now, that are like, Sergey, that scares me, to be connected to a global population of immunity and microchipping that's connected to everybody? I mean, there's going to be some people listening to that go, yeah, whoa, I don't feel good about that, or whatever. I know that you've talked about it in your book. You've had those conversations. So
so this is one of the major concerns. And first of all, I'd like to say I agree with all of you. I'm waiting for like a far horizon of longevity in combination of fear and excitement. And that's why Morality of Immortality, why it's positive chapter. This is the chapter. There's so many things that we need to fix in our society, in our world, in our regulation, in the ethics of use, artificial intelligence, sensors, wearables, data, privacy of that, before we'll embrace the longer life. And well, but having said that, I'm just taking my smartphone. We already made this choice. Okay, so we are already interconnected. We're just using very inefficient interface for that, right? Yes. For our smartphones, right. I'm using my eyes, my ears, I'm using my fingers to type something. But in the end of the day, this is just a matter of interface. So if you want to be radical about this, just to push your thinking on this whole thing, we already made this choice. We are interconnected. And then it's up to us whether we delegate all these ethical choices to other people, or we are part of the conversation and part of the decision-making body, how we're going to live. And the same thing happened with our health. The most disappointing thing about our current state of our health is that we delegated all health-related decisions outside our own mind and body. It's delegated to big pharma, regulators, to FDA, to big food producers, to healthcare companies, to insurance companies as well. So like it's time to be back in this conversation. And I'm not saying you should be like the only one to make decisions about your health. I mean, we are not capable to, but like understand what is happening and be part of it is extremely important.
No, I think, hey, like anything in life, right? Someone once said, take any virtue to the extreme and it can become a vice. It can become a vice, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. You can go overboard on anything and not be protected. But I could see through reading your book that some cool benefits could come out of this. I just think, as a side note, you made me trigger my daughter, who's sort of a social media, she's kind of known out there. One of my daughters, Kyla, who has a lot of followers and so forth. One thing she's made a decision to do is to not get sucked in so deep that she can't pull herself out and have some self-control. Yeah. And so what she does is she takes her phone once a month. I've never shared this before. She takes her phone, and I bet many of her fans don't know this. She takes her phone once a week for about 5 days, and she puts it in the safe. Totally disconnects from all social reality and reads books and focuses on other important things. And I think that would be, for some probably listening to this, that could be kind of the scary part, is if we're so interconnected, you don't have the ability to separate the interface that you're talking about and separate it and go, okay, but I'm still in control of myself 100%. So I don't know if any of that.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly. No, this is very important. Like before we invented smartphone, the human attention span for developed world was 15 seconds.
15
so
seconds.
The fish in the bowl has what was that? Yeah, like 9 seconds attention span. So we were still doing better than fish. But after we managed to create smartphones, our attention span is 8 seconds, while fish still has 9. So imagine we're trying to live in a world which, like, every 8 or 9 seconds, we need a new signal, new something that we can change our focus on. And this is not exactly great. And well, that's why, everything goes in moderation, and our relationship with social media, with devices, should be managed in a good way as well.
And I love that you present that side of it, that you're not all the way on one side, but it is a passion of yours. And you can definitely see through some of the stories in the book, which I'll point out later, just some of the cool things that are happening that are healing people. But you said in the book, quote, the age 80 is the new 40. Right? When you think about, you sort of talked about it a few minutes ago, just that our average length of lifespan 200 years ago versus today, right? It's changed. So I imagine it's going to even increase. Our 80 is eventually going to be our new 40, right? And it's just going to over time keep doing that. You say in the book, technology development is all about making the impossible possible. I love that on its face. I've been taking the invisible, the impossible for 25 years and making it possible through dreaming, through thinking, through strategizing, through taking action, and having ambition to take risks even when it doesn't feel comfortable. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation, right?
That's true.
And then you go on to say, yes, the day before something is a breakthrough, quote, it's a crazy idea. Moonshot visions like growing young need scientists, technologists, entrepreneurs, investors, journalists, and medical doctors to succeed. They all require a community of passionate dreamers, thinkers, and doers. And your fund, your longevity, what is it? You're the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund. I think is pulling a lot of these people together to support this vision.
Yeah. What I also like about this, TJ, that it is about affordability and accessibility aspect, right? So I'm not really interested to develop something for like a cool billionaires, which will cost millions of dollars, right? Well, this is where technology and science is helpful. Like whatever we invest in is making an improvement to current state of healthcare by 10, 20, not percent times. So like if we invest in affordable ultrasound devices, they cost 50 times less that you currently pay in terms of the purchase of this device for the hospital next door. Or if we invest it in early diagnostic of cancer, it's going to be $100 or $150, liquid biopsy box rather than $800 or $2,000 colonoscopy, right, to identify the risk of colon cancer. And I can go on and on where technology will democratize the cost of healthcare, and the level of effectiveness of this is combination of human intelligence and artificial intelligence and technology will bring us to completely different level where access to healthcare is going to be part of universal basic package, like universal basic income, the concept which is currently under test in so many countries. It's going to be part of it, and we like in 20 years from now we're going to have access to the best version of healthcare, and even the elite today will not have this access at the time.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Has COVID-19 impact any of your investing and some of your focus around all this? What?
Yeah, in a big way. So people will always ask me, well, Sergey, health is so important. Why our government? And we always kind of like to think that our health problem should be solved by government, by corporations, not by us. But nevertheless, so that's the question. Right. Why our government is kind of never dealing with health. And the problem with health, government is always dealing with both urgent and important. Mm-hmm. And health of the nation is always important, but never urgent. That's
right.
So that's if you want to be positive about COVID, and COVID is dangerous, is devastating, is a really bad thing. It's a huge external shock which happened to us. But if you want to be positive and see the positive outcome of these events, COVID made this whole health care and national health agenda both urgent and important. So we've seen a lot of changes there. Like right now, remember when we talk about near horizon of longevity, and I talk about gene therapy. This is very powerful thing. But it took COVID for us to be participating in a global experiment in gene therapy. Moderna, AstraZeneca, a lot of other vaccines is the outcome of gene therapy. Because, and I do think it's positive. I had my Moderna shots, and I'm super happy with level of antibodies. And in December last year, I suffered through 20 days of COVID, and I'm the biggest supporter of vaccines today. After going through that, I'm all for it. But so it took us COVID to embrace the idea of gene therapy, because if we would be developing vaccines through the usual means, this will be years. This will be 10 plus years. But I think I was reading I don't remember whether it was New York Times, but some of the publication here in US, and the title of the article was Moderna vaccine has been developed in 2 days.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Obviously, it was a lot of preparation, a lot of hard work for years from their side. But the actual vaccine, so it took us a couple of days to sequence genome of the virus, and another couple of days to develop vaccines. I mean, you need to do a lot of testing before you use something on the mass population. But that's it. And remember when how fast we've developed all these testing capabilities. COVID testing has been available to us in a matter of few weeks. Vaccine has been invented in a matter of few weeks, and it took us a month actually to test before we can roll it out. This is amazing.
No, it is amazing. It is amazing. And for some that are listening to this section of it right now, you may be thinking similar a little bit to me, which is, and maybe that's my lack of understanding of technology and science and so forth, is, yeah, the fact that it was raced forward so fast, that alone is what scares me. Where typically in the past, vaccines have gone through processes and procedures for decades before. And I know that even with these vaccines, right, there was research that was taking place all the way back in 2002, 2012, and so forth. So it's not that there wasn't some research. It just, how quick that vaccine came to the forefront and used on people, it just, I think for a lot of people, probably 50% of the world, has brought some confusion. And so, anyway.
Well, that's a good point. So when we, like 100 years ago, when we moved from horses to use of the cars, we developed the whole new set of rules.
True.
Because a car is much more dangerous method of transportation than just using horses for that.
Right.
And therefore, there's always a need for regulation. There's always a need for ethical debate in society. That's why I love all of these voices, because it brings us to reality. It brings us to balance. And I like that you mentioned my last chapter in the book is is balance. On one side, I like all this science and technologies, but what I don't like when we are like really quick in embracing or using that, we need to have a conversation, and not in 25 years from now.
That's
today.
Right. That's right. That's right. And that conversation is not, I don't think, in its fullness because of several factors that we don't even need to get into right now, but the limitation of some data, just to make sure that what I love about your style, Sergey, and I love that I felt in the book, is you're reasonable. You're willing to have the conversation. Let's just bring the information out and let's do what works, was the spirit I got from you, that you're not pigeonholed into one angle and then forcing that. Hey, let's just have a conversation and let's not be defensive if the results that we get back from that conversation don't match our existing beliefs. And I'm great believer in collective wisdom, and for the good reason. So you and I, so you, TJ, and I, we genetically predisposed with very high level of optimism, right? Yes,
like 50% of our level of optimism is we've been lucky in genetic lottery. So if the whole world will consist and will be full of Sergey Youngs, we're gonna be in trouble. Okay.
That's true.
So I always need someone to balance me, and say, well, Sergey, this is great. You guys supporting development of this wonderful technologies, but what about this? What about this? And there's so many things that we even don't know what we don't know. That's why we need collective wisdom to solve it.
Really well said there. But in my case, that's the benefit of being married, right? I can be the optimist and somewhat a strategist. My wife is really the strategist and somewhat optimist. And so it balances us out. And so having both is really, really important. Okay, just a couple other things here. Age reversal. Can a person who is 47 regain the health of a 25-year-old? Is that for in the foreseeable future even possible based on the technology patterns that we see happening today?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we've seen a number of academic trials today where age has been reversed by 2 or 3 years already. Okay, so that's happening today. And funny enough, part of it is combination of growth hormones, different medication to support that, decreasing the glucose in your blood. But there was one study, in the course of 8 weeks, they managed to reverse biological clocks of the people within the study by 3 years. It was combination of sleep, diet, and physical activity.
Yes.
Imagine that. We can do it, but then on the much more fundamental, serious side, remember, one of the most promising thing for us is gene editing and gene therapy. So in the course of last 10 years, we've developed pretty good understanding of what are the genes in our DNA which are responsible for our longer and healthier living. And the way they did it is just they took a lot of centenarians, like people who live 100 and plus in the good conditions, and they were looking at the sequence their genome. Right now it takes days, not 13 years, like 30 years ago. And 30 years ago it was $3 billion. Today it's cost $200. So see the difference. And they discovered 3,000 genes in our DNA, which are responsible for our longevity. So with the development of technology in gene editing and gene therapy, we can switch on, switch off these genes. So obviously we can then influence the aging process in our body. So this is schematically how it's gonna happen. We're not there yet, but future is much closer to us than we usually expect. And again, you don't need to wait for another 20 years until this whole thing going to be invented. You can reverse your aging by and your biological age by 3 to 5 years. Even today, just combining all of the things that you can influence today.
Love that. That's very practical. Right on. Okay, we're winding down. You say 3 myths are: myth number 1, living more means living less. It's a myth, right? As the technology grows. Myth number 2.
Longevity is dangerous.
Longevity, dangerous and selfish, which I'm going to read something from. And then myth number 3, life extension is really not possible. I think that you, in your book, and listen, any listener who's watching this or listening to this, you've got to get the book, because we don't have time in this interview maybe to go through the lion's share of information in the middle of this book, where Sergey, you do a great job really bringing in the technology of the stuff that's happening now, breakthrough ideas and technologies and breakthroughs in science that are really, really at the forefront. They're going to open amazing doors. But dangerous and selfish. Let me just read this. Here we go. You said, toward the end of the book, immortal life, endangered planet. And I love this story that you shared. Quote, Sergey, my friend Alex said to me, this is living to 200 years old, or pushing the idea of longevity and so forth. Yeah. Quote, this is absolutely the last thing we need. It was a beautiful and sunny California day, and we were enjoying breakfast at Shutters on the beach in Santa Monica. Just look at the strain we are putting on the planet that is, and we only live to 80 years old. Population growth is out of control. Climate change seems almost irreversible. There are famines and water shortages across Africa. We've got no place to put our trash. Rainforests are disappearing. Our air and our waterways are filthy. Just look at the ocean, he gestured, pointing to the glimmering Pacific waters. Can you imagine what a mess it would be if we all lived another 50 years? You're advocating for global Armageddon. Then you go on to say this: it's a conversation I find myself having quite a bit. And it's not just with the sky is falling types who only see the negative. What do you say, possibly, there's a balance in all this. What do you say to maybe some of the negative, or maybe the extremist that the world is falling apart kind of mindset? So
first thing is about overpopulation, and it's a myth that population of the world or the planet going to be increasing all the time. So if you look at the all decent and very famous studies that has been done, the last one I think has been published in a very famous and respectable science journal called Lancet, about the population of Earth. And this is very easy to forecast. So it's not a rocket science. So given the current extremely low reproduction rates all over the world, apart from African continent, the population of the planet gonna peak around 2050 at 10 or 11 billion people, and then this will go down till the end of the century to 8. So we're gonna face declining population of Earth anyway, because the average woman or the average couple reproduce itself at the ratio of 1.3, 1.5 kids per couple. Well, that's the mathematics, right?
That's right.
People have a lot of, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, you know, we all have more alternatives now for our time. And the unfortunate reality for some reproductive activity is, and taking care of kids, is like people choose career, people choose their passion, people choose science, like social realization, pro bono work, and we don't have time for kids. So that's why, unless we respond to this demographic tsunami, we end up, you know, on the empty planet. This is actually the name of the book which described this demographic phenomena. So that's one. Two, I'm not concerned about resources. 45% of the food in the US goes to waste every evening. And this is out of, you know, supermarkets, our households, and restaurants.
That's right.
This is awful. While 1 billion people on Earth are still hungry and suffer from hunger, we put in like half of our food goes to waste. Yeah. This is a lot of food, a lot of resources. We just not really great with equal distribution of that. So that's the problem. But then where I do agree that, you know, time to decide and define the version of the world that we're going to be living is today. And there's so many ethical choices that we need to go through, like what will happen with our social constructs, like retirement, marriage, career, like how are we going to close inequality gap? I hate this whole thing. That's why my mission is to bring affordable and accessible version of technology to the world. Or where are we with our relationship with Mother Nature? Can we just stop, you know, throwing plastics in the ocean and take back control, not only, you know, of our health, but the health of our planet? There's so many ethical questions that we need to sort out. That's why, you know, we need to start a conversation today. So that's just the one thing. And second thing, there's so many things that we can do with our health today. So we need, let's just dedicate 1 or 2 minutes to like, what are the 5 things, not 10. 10 is in the bonus chapter of we can do right now. You okay with that, TJ?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful. So 5 things, 5 longevity buckets. 1, do your annual checkup.
Yes.
So the most important day of your life every year is the day of your checkup. My wife has a different view of what is the most important day during the year. But if you ask me, for me, it was June 8th. I went down to Human Longevity Center in San Diego, in California, and I spent like the full day doing my annual checkup. This is not a rocket science. You can go to your healthcare provider, to your doctor, with the same brief saying, I want to go through as comprehensive screening as possible against cancer, heart disease, diabetes.
You inspired me to do that, because you talk about that. I read that chapter and you talk about how you went down there and you did it, and you got like a 72-page report breakdown of your body and so forth.
I just literally like 1 hour before conversation, I had a post conversation about my health based on results of that. So you've done lifestyle right there after MRI and all of the other things.
Sure.
But right now we were going through genetic report. They look at 1.6 thousand genes in my body to see if I have any risk of catching deadly disease in the later stage of my life. Is there anything I need to proactively manage? Like for 70% of people, the answer is positive. For 30% of people, you have certain genetic inefficiency or ineffectiveness that you need to manage up front. So that's one thing. Second thing, we did discuss it already. Don't die stupid. Don't make stupid choices in terms of drinking alcohol and driving.
Practical.
Not using seatbelt. It is like, but having said that, a good friend of mine just sent me a note saying, Sergey, and she's an alpinist, so she's a big fan of mountain climbing. I'm gonna climb the most dangerous mountain on earth, called K2. It's in Pakistan, and she did it. God bless. I mean, she's alive.
Right.
But you know what's the mortality rate for someone who wants to climb this this mountain? 25%. So Russian roulette is like 17% chances of dying, but she did like even craziest thing, 25% of dying. So don't die stupid, and whenever you can, make a safe choice.
Don't die stupid.
Don't try to find surprises. But then, so the third thing is about diet. There's a lot of disagreement which extends our lifespan, but there's only one agreement in academic circles.
Yes.
Decrease of the calories that we take.
Yes.
So decreasing of the calories of your, daily food intake by 15 to 25% is going to extend your healthy life by 3, 5, 7 years. Well, that's amazing. And well, it's easy to say how to decrease the calories. They are always very tempting and tasty. So go plant-based. You don't need to be vegetarian, but like substantially increase the number of portions of plants and vegetables that you take. Well, this is amazing. I also do fasting. There's like a separate discussion on fasting in the book. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
Number 4, do your 10,000 steps a day. Use your Whoop. Use your Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, Fitbit, like whatever the wearable you like.
Good.
And by the way, wearables going to become our personalized healthcare devices. So that's why I'm wearing so many wearables. They're going to track my health on an ongoing basis. In 1, 2, 3 years from now, they're going to add just a few features there. And you know what? Apple, Google, Microsoft going to become the largest healthcare companies on earth. Yep. Not because I want to, but like because the change in healthcare will come from new players doing new things. Not from the old players, okay? But like 10,000 steps a day. And then if you want, this is 2/3 of your physical activity agenda. And you can integrate walking into like everything you do. So then, and then on top of that, you can add yoga stretching. You can add weightlifting or cardio exercise. It's up to you. And number 5, very important, I call it peace of mind. Importance of sleep. My rule is 8 hours in the bed, 7 hours of sleep. Importance of meditation and mindfulness. We need to decrease the cortisol level that we have in our blood, the stress hormone that we always have because of the constantly negative news, CNN around us. And final piece of this number 5, the peace of mind, is this whole sense of purpose. Why we're living on this planet, like sharing the best of you with the people, giving more than you take, helping other people to become the better version of themselves. This is where I finally found the sense of purpose in my life, sense of fulfillment. Back in 2014, it's not about money. It's about helping others, and you'll see, universe will always pay back to you. I mean, it sounds a little bit idealistic. I am idealistic, as you see in TJ, but this is my biggest realization for the last 7 years.
Well, that's beautiful. What would the world be like without people that are idealistic, right? It's the idealistic that say, hey, we can go to space. It's the idealistic that push the human baseline to that next level. And then when that glass ceiling is broken, wow, it lifts all boats, if you will. And so I think we've got to be dreamers along the way. I like that you said, as far as the health, I think it was step number 4 that you just laid out. Or 3, eating healthy. You said stop drinking alcohol or something like that. And I thought, I don't drink alcohol. So at least on one of these issues, I'm doing really good. I don't drink alcohol.
But remember, TJ, it's never one thing, okay? It's combination of everything.
Yeah, and you make a good point of that. Listen, we've had a great conversation. I encourage everyone to get this book. I would even say, even if it's not your goal to live to 200 years old. Why? Because there's going to be some people that listen to this are like, no, maybe they're highly religious or whatever. And they're like, I'm happy moving on. I have no issue with that. I'm not fearful of that. But I think the technology that you put in here is really fascinating. And so I encourage everybody to get a copy of the book. You can get it at Amazon, or you can get it wherever books are sold. Is that right, Sergey?
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yeah, it is. So we already, like few weeks before the book launch, we already hit number 1 on Amazon new release in 3 categories, like preventive medicine, longevity, aging. So it's going to be a very popular book. And it's not the book about living to 200. It's a book about living better healthier and happier version of your life today. And finally, on sergeyyoung.com,
Yes, we'll put that link
wherever
there.
you bought, wherever you bought the book, claim the offer. We given away a lot of free materials like access to Longevity Academy, 12 videos done by me about exciting stuff in the science and technology, what we can do today, what we can do in the future as well, and so many things. But otherwise, stay healthy and happy. This is very important.
That's awesome. So everyone can go to, let me just clarify, sergeyyoung.com. All right, we'll put that link up.
Yep.
Make sure you go check it out. Listen, Sergey, it was a joy having you on the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast. It's my hope for everyone that's listened to this interview that you learn the information, be aware of what's coming in the future in terms of science and technology, do those things that are within your control today that can lengthen your life in a more healthy and fulfilling way starting today. There's areas I could do better at, which I'll commit to do better at. And I just think, hey, let's live a purpose-filled, that's what I sense from you, Sergey, a purpose-filled, positive, healthy life. And you can get some of the answers of that in this book right here. You did a really good job with it, Sergey. Thank you for being on the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast.
Thank you.
Hey there. What'd you think? I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. You know, it's my pleasure to share these insights and distinctions that will lead to more happiness, fulfillment, and achievement in life. So, hey, if you like the message, if you like the podcast episode, hey, do me a favor. Would you give me a thumbs up? Would you give me a star rating? I'd really appreciate it. Better yet, if you wouldn't mind writing a little review wherever you're listening to this from, that would be really great. I'd appreciate it. All right, now go out there and unleash your greatness within.
GreatnessWithin.com.